Everybody, welcome to another episode of Personal Mastery Training, the Alliance. Today I have Dr. Charlie Cartwright with me. All right. And we are ready to bring you something, a really interesting conversation we're going to have today, all about this idea that sometimes you should just quit on this damn thing that you've been going at. However, psychology wise, there's a reason why you don't quit, and it's not outside of yourself. Dr. Charlie said something prior to this call that I want to bring up is that most of the things we talk about is not any exclusive, deep, dark secret to you. It's a human nature, and what we're doing this entire since I've been doing these podcasts and over the decades, I've been thinking about us humans for. I find us very interesting. Our journey very interesting. Is that a lot of times 90+% is just a number I'm going to throw out there. I think we all experience the same thing. That's why we can read each other because we understand that why that person does this. And although sometimes we point fingers at people, oh, look at them doing this, we realize that sometimes we're doing the same thing in different situations. So what we're talking about here is not so much something special to one or two people, or what we're talking about is hacking. The ideas that we're sharing with you should be there to help you to hack into your normal psychology that we all do. The road rage that we think we're so we look at other people and judge them when they're having those moments, but we can have those moments. The embarrassment, the guilt, the shame that we all share that at some point along the way. And the whole idea is, can we share ideas with you and with ourselves and learn and grow and go when when that experience comes up? Remember, it's a wax on, wax off. Okay, why am I doing this? Why are we sharing this? Why are we even getting on here every episode? And well, it's wax on because these things are going to happen to us. And we go, human, and stop holding yourself so guilty to every damn thing because you think you're so special about the only one who makes these mistakes. You're not. It's a normal human trait. And what we're going to talk about today is something super normal for a lot of us. And we'll get into it. And the whole idea behind this is this. I'll start with a story of a monkey. I don't know if this is true, but I heard this and it stuck with me. Apparently, to trap a monkey, what they did was they have a log, okay? And they put the monkey's favorite thing that he loves to eat in this log. However, the monkey, once you can see it through the hole, there's a little hole in the log. And when he reaches in and grabs the thing that he loves, whatever that is, the food, substance, and he goes to pull his hand out, he can't get his hand out because the hole is just big enough for him to put an empty hand in. But when it's full, he can't pull it out. Now here's a catch. They get to trap that monkey because he won't let go of that thing. So it reminds me of what we're going to talk about today is this sunk cost fallacy where you invested so much into this relationship, the business, the friendship, whatever it is, you invested so much that now you can't let it go. You find it difficult to let go of the investment that you've made when you should be quitting and letting it go. The relationship that stopped working many decades ago or whatever, weeks, months, whatever it is. But no, I put in so much in this, I'm going to stick around, making both of you miserable. So this is a normal human trait. Don't beat yourself up over it. But sometimes, was it Kenny Rogers back in the day? Some of you too, maybe too young to know what Kenny Rogers is, but Kenny Rogers, he had that the Gamblers uh, song. You gotta know when to hold them, know when to let it go, walk away, know when to run. So, anyways, I'll start there and I'll pass it on to Dr. Charlie Cartwright.
Excellent. This is such an important discussion because, as you mentioned, Alvin, it's about the human condition. And as human beings, we fall into this trap. And it's literally what you mentioned is a monkey trap. And people can Google it and look it up, and it's kind of amazing. And it's comical when you think about it from a monkey standpoint. But when you think about it from a human being standpoint, you're like, wow, I fell in for the same thing metaphorically, and I didn't want to let go of this. And so because I won't let go of it, I'm trapped. And we've got to really just have honest conversations with ourselves and others. Thinking about relationships, for instance. I mean, if a relationship's not working and it's toxic, okay, and it doesn't matter if it's 10 years, 15, 20, 25, 30 years, it's not working. And so giving it another 5, 10, 15, 20 is not going to help the situation. And so there's times where it is appropriate to quit. It is appropriate to walk away. And too many times we get caught up in a situation where we've invested so much time that we let that dictate, our decision versus looking at it logically. And I think there's a term in poker called pot committed, right? People have invested so much money into this pot that's in the middle of the table that even though they have a losing hand, they don't want to fold because they're going to lose all the money they've already committed. So what do? They commit more money. And then how's the game end? Guess what? They lose all their money anyway. So it would have been better for them to fold a lot earlier than to get to that point where they're pot committed now. And they've invested so much money in the middle of the table that they don't feel like they can walk away from it. But we have to do just that, even though it doesn't feel good, it may be painful from an emotional standpoint. We always have to look at our lives long term. And the long term impact of staying in a failed relationship is going to be detrimental versus beginning anew or being alone and being able to grow and heal versus staying wounded and bound. So with that, I'll pass the mic.
Yeah, I love that pot committed. I've never heard that term, but it's the same psychology. You can put it in anything, relationship, poker. I have a client who is a poker player. I advise him on his poker plan because poker, like trading in the stocks, it takes a mindset to win. It's more than anything else the mindset around knowing when to fold and when to come out. And so back in the day, 90 to 2000s, late 90s, 2000s, I was looking at ways to create passive income, and I got into some trading. The internet stocks were hot back then. And in Canada, they had a hot stock called Nortel Technology, all tech were just taking off. And I remember when the tech stocks took a beating because the bubble busted. And this stock went from $150 down to $40. And the financial advisors were telling their clients, you can't get any cheaper than this. This buys, you can remortgage your homes and buy in on this. You can't, you've never seen Nortel at this level. A lot of people did. A lot of people lost a lot of money because it's, again, sunk cost. They stayed with it. They wrote it all the way down to zero because, it can't get any cheaper than this. And it's going to bounce back. It's going to bounce back. They didn't let it go. So one thing I learned is, and this can apply to life, one thing I learned is there is zero in the stock. It can get worse. Yeah. Even if you saw it at a bargain discount of $1, well, there is zero. Okay. So you gotta let it go. You gotta let it go. And the other thing I learned in stocks trading was there's another bus coming by any second. So don't fall in love with just this one. You got to be able to let it go. So yeah, it's crucial, the sunk cost, when people in the pot mentality, you're invested. Oh my God, just think about this in your job, your relationship, your something. Some people stay with a job. Let's talk a job back in the day. I don't know if it's going to exist in the future, where pension. Some people gave up passion for pension because they're already invested, but they know this one idea they have is a game changer for the world. They know it. They just know it. It's had its luck. It's done well, and everyone's excited about it. It's a beautiful idea, but the pension, the golden handcuffs, they're holding on to it. They hate to let it go. They have to go this way. They got to cling on to it. The partner they invested in all those years. I put in all these years in this relationship. I'm not gonna give that up now. Start again. Yeah, you're making each other miserable. And yeah, you're right. You're never gonna be the same again, because once you get out of that relationship, you can't trust anybody. You're broken. You're gonna go into the next one broken. Nah, let it go. Let them. They might have somebody better too. So it's that fallacy is huge. So how many times again are you, think about, in any area, your career, you're going to work drudging, you're the type who hump day is awesome. You can't wait for Fridays. You're depressed on Sundays because you got to go back on Monday, but you're going to hang on because you're invested. I've been doing this I hate it, but it pays the bills. Although over here, when I'm there, I light up, and people are always asking me, oh, why don't you? But no, I'm going to hold on to this because this is certain. But yeah, you're certain that you're going to have a lousy time, that you're going to miss a life, is what's certain. So again, yeah, it might sound easy to me and sitting here, but that's the same thing I did when I went out this podcast. Why don't you do something comfortable? Why don't you do something that's not, there's no, safer? Why don't you do something blah 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 mainstream? No, my practice is so different. When I was doing my therapy piece, when I do my therapy piece, it's so different. And I wanted to do this integration. It's out of the box, and I got questioned about it. Oh, just why don't you do, because I'm doing pretty well in my therapy part. Why don't you do it? No, I want to do this. And now it's become, thank you. It's paid off. So where in your life are you doing this sunk cost fallacy, this pot committed idea that you need to just let go, bet on yourself, and take a flight? With that, I'll pass the mic.
This conversation makes me think of, a situation we've all had where we've been working on maybe a laptop or a desktop computer, and we're trying to work on a program, whatever, and we hit a button, we hit a key, we hit the key we think we're supposed to hit, and what happens? We get the eek, eek, eek. And so what do? Keep hitting that key, like, oh, you hit it 10 times, now it's going to go, or you hit it 17 times, now it's going to go. It never does, right? If anything, you can potentially make it worse by keep hitting that key that's not working. So it's an interesting concept, and it's just human nature to, oh, this has got to be the key. Well, the computer's telling you, no, that's not it. You've got to,
but what if you bang it hard enough?
Yeah, hit it harder, right? Ding, 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 ding. And it's just an interesting thing. So we've got to really recognize when something's not working and then find an alternative. And that alternative is always going to be better for us in the long run, right? Short term, yeah, it's uncomfortable, because that's the other thing about dysfunction is people get comfortable with it. You get comfortable with dysfunction in a relationship. You get comfortable with having a dysfunctional boss. You get comfortable with having dysfunction on your job, or working with a dysfunctional team on your job. And it's your normal and you're comfortable with it. So to get out of that comfort zone is scary for the human mind because the human mind likes familiarity, right? So at least we're familiar with all these things. We don't know what's over here. But the reality is, if these things aren't working, then we owe it to ourselves to use the mental capacities that we have to go find something that's more suited to our liking, who we are, and how we're wired. And that's going to take work. It's not just going to fall into your lap, but it's some of the best work you'll ever do. And I think a lot of times too, it could be a job or a relationship, either one. Until you get out of that job or get out of that relationship, you won't realize how much has been holding you back. You won't realize how much has been holding you back from personal fulfillment, or you won't realize how much has been holding you back from professional fulfillment till you get out of it. But as long as you're in it, people have decided for you who you are and what you're capable of and put you in a box, and they're not gonna let you out of it regardless of your behavior or your accomplishments. And so you got to recognize that as a human being and say, hey, my great qualities aren't getting recognized here, right? My accomplishments professionally aren't getting rewarded here. If I go across the street, you know what? Those things are going to be rewarded. And it's amazing to me. I remember the last job I had before I went out on my own, and the things that I was getting reprimanded for are the very things that make me successful as an entrepreneur. So with that, I'll pass the mic.
Yeah, all great points. All great points here. One thing I wanted to go back to was Oprah. Long ago, I bring this story up quite often. There's certain stories that just resonate and sticks to so many examples. This one here, I was watching Oprah Winfrey long ago, and they had the Buddhists there. That part of their practice was to spend painstaking hours working on a beautiful mandala, and they took sand and just poured it. About 5 or 6 of them were just sitting there pouring this hours in the sun all day. Beautiful too when they were done, by the way. And their only job when they were done was what? To dust it off, just off the table, destroy it. And it taught them about letting go, just let the art of letting go. And I think that's what, a lot of us, that investment in that beautiful piece that they created is part of human nature. Oh, but look what we did. But no, their only job was do this beautiful thing, put their heart and soul into it, and then just destroy it at the end of the day and start again. So I thought it just stuck with me because I just realized that that's a lot of what we do. We bought the house, you can go on and on about the different things we invest in and then don't want to let it go because we invested in it. Maybe it be money, time, or whatever. So I love that idea. And then so Dr. Charlie brought up a really great point too. I said this on the last podcast that a lot of what we do now, I just consider going back to our rudimentary design, which is fight, flight, fear, greed, sex. That's a lower end, and that's a default. So when you think about this idea of letting something go, and Dr. Charlie brought up this familiarity, part of the 6 human needs, one of them is certainty. We all want some sort of certainty. A little bit of variety is great too, but somehow we want to know certain that the floor we stand on will hold us up. So when even if it's dysfunctional, we know it. You think about the man or woman who won't let go of this relationship or this type of person. They keep picking, change the name, but they've been with this relationship 6, 7 partners, and they're the same abusive partners. Why would they do that? Why would you go and find somebody who's abusive again and again? Well, it's what they recognize. Anyone nicer to them, and I've seen this, anyone nicer to them they think it's weird. What do you want from me? They'd rather the predictable abusive partner who, and maybe it's something they're looking for, mommy daddy complex, where, always finding that tough man or woman who doesn't give them the love they want, but they're trying to get it because it was the one they're trying to get from blank. You know what I mean? So you think about that familiarity. That's why they hold on to it. The other one's uncertain. So that investment in that house that just, or the car that keeps breaking down. Why don't you get a new one? Well, at least I know I can hit this here and then just starts up, and so it's a familiarity. But we got to also remember, on the flip side, we also have it's 6 human needs. So the other parts we're not giving value to. If we're busy holding on to this certainty, we're not giving value to growth, which is a human need, feeling significant, which is a human need, love and connection, contribution. There's so many other human needs that we're foregoing because we're too busy holding on to this one thing. So, and then Dr. Charlie pointed out this idea of the wisdom that said, go where you're celebrated, not where you're tolerated. They're just tolerating you there. Where you go where you're celebrated, 8 point odd billion of us, I'm not sure what the count is now, but over 8 billion people, and each and every one of us has something unique to bring to the table. However, if you stay in this place where you're being tolerated, you'll never get pushed. You'll never find out what you're capable of, because you're not being pushed. You're not stretching. So you keep showing up as the same old, same old. So this is the idea of letting go, jump out of the nest, the comfort zone, and let's see what you're made of. We're on limited potential, but you can't test that potential if you're still sitting in the zone of comfort. So with that, pass that mic.
Yeah, I remember this conversation I had in an airport with this woman. She came and sat by me. I was in North Carolina, and the day before my flight had been canceled, so I had to be there first thing in the morning to catch the early flight out. And this woman sits down next to me and starts talking to me, asked me about what I do. And I was like, well, I work for this company, but I'm thinking about, going out on my own and doing this and really trying to figure out what's best. And she's like, oh, there's a book you need to read. And so I remember getting pad of paper out and pen. I was like, okay, what's the name of the book? She says, I can't remember the name of the author, but the title is, if you want to walk on water, you got to get out of the boat. And I didn't even write it down. I was just like, you got to be kidding me right now. But it was the perfect message for me. And that woman ended up being at the wrong gate. She thought it was, anyway. So, oh my God. I was like, no, this is going to Kansas City. I'm in the wrong gate. And she goes down. But obviously that was a serendipitous meeting for me. And it's true, that, in that parable, that story about Jesus walking across the water, and the disciples are in this boat. They're all in that boat, but the only one that got out of the boat was Peter. He's the only one. And you know what he did? He walked on water until they got afraid, and then down he went. And so it's amazing how often we want to do something. We want to walk on water, but we're too fearful to get out of that boat. So if we don't get out of the boat, it's never going to happen. So we've got to be able to have that courage to get out of the boat. And then I think 100% of the time, you'll be surprised at what you're capable of. And with that, I'll pass the mic.
Yeah, that's, again, those serendipitous moments where someone is put on your path and gives you that right, and then leaves. Right? Then leaves. They just give you that right thing you need. So I love that. And it reminds me of another wisdom that ties on that. The one that says, Heaven, people die to go to heaven. I mean, people will kill themselves to get to heaven. People will do all these things. Everybody wants the idea of heaven. Whether and a heaven could not just be the place that everyone thinks of, the clouds and whatever. It could easily be the good life. Um, getting out of your situation, winning money, earning money, climbing the ladder of success, whatever it is, whatever your heaven is. But the problem is, no one wants to die to go to heaven. It's got to be, there's got to be, in order for you to transition, the same you that you started at will never, never get you to the level of heaven. Because the same you, if you came out perfect, equipped, well, you are equipped with everything you need, by the way. However, it has to be explored and honed and cared for and put to the test for you to get to that next level. But imagine if everybody, they want these things. I have a young guy now who I mentored him, but he's become a really good friend. Very advanced guy for his age, very, very advanced human. Anyways, he's climbing the ladder of success very fast, but he's putting in the time to do it. There's not luck. He's putting it. He's very strategic, and he's doing it. He's climbing. And the higher this guy climbs every time, he just passed 100,000 subscribers on YouTube. Every time he climbs up, though, he finds out there's a devil at the next level, always waiting to go. And he got attacked by a certain devil who just spat vitriol at him and had a whole channel based on a 30-minute segment on his channel. And he's part of a hate group. And he now hates, he put him on there. And so now he was like, wow. And people get on there and say, I wish this guy would die. And wish like literally, it's like unbelievable. So again, he had to lean into that. He said it hurt. Obviously, it hurt to see that. Wow, it's because someone put him on it. He didn't. And he went and searched. He found this person, and he's part of a hate group who just the things they're doing. So he said he got upset, called a few people, but they advised him, hey, listen, it's part of, you made it. You're making it. Okay, if you weren't making some kind of difference, you wouldn't be on there. So again, that's the death we talk about. Everyone wants to get to heaven. See, when he gets where he's young, he's in his 20s, this guy. But when he gets to be 40 and he's established and doing what he loves and all of that's like Teflon, he becomes like Teflon that bounces off. And people say, man, you're so lucky. They didn't see though that his vulnerability had to die. His soft shell had to die. He had to build a hardened shell to deal with this stuff. Because this is why most people, and then I started figuring out, this is why most people don't go after their dreams, because it comes with this stuff. If you're not willing to put up with this stuff, you're not going to get what you want. But then you're going to live that life of regret, life of quiet desperation, as Henry David Thoreau would always say. Another wisdom that I always share. So many of us live lives of quiet desperation. Why? We holding on to the certainty. We don't want to step out into that vulnerable zone, so we just hold on. So that's what would we expect to get if we don't do that, right? So, so let's talk now, Dr. Charlie, about solutions. Great, we've stated the problem. We've given some examples. Now let's not leave them there. What do we do? Well, how did you jump from the golden handshake, the safety net, to now, experiencing life at another level now for you? You are, every week I talk to you, some new experience is happening. You're traveling now. It's changed.
Yeah, great question. So There's this wisdom talking about, jump off the cliff and build the airplane on the way down, right? And you'll have it built before you hit the bottom. Okay. And the reality is, whenever you make that leap, it's kind of like that. Because you got all these plans, you plan this, you plan that, you've researched this, you research that. But the reality is, you'll never know what you don't know, right? That's just impossible. And so then you find out things that you didn't know. That would have been helpful. And so you got to make adjustments to your plan. You got to make adjustments to your approach. And in the midst of all that, you're building this aircraft on your way down that you jumped off this proverbial cliff. You know what? You're going to get scraped up, bruised up, cut up. It's going to be rough before you get in that plane and get it flying. And that's part of it. So it's not going to be this smooth transition where you jump off this cliff, the parachute opens up beautifully, and you just float down, and you have this easy, wonderful life and landing. No, there's a price, right, that comes with it. And when you decide to end a relationship or step out on your own in business, any combination of that or metaphor that represents that walking away, then you're going to get challenged with the reality of, okay, you've walked away now. Now what are you going to do with this opportunity? And so you've got to persevere, right? You've got to go through the difficult times, go through the lonely times. And if you persevere, I can promise you're going to be better on the other side, right? But it's like we talked about, I think it was in last week's podcast, that metaphor of the mountains, right? All those mountains, I think we have 14 peaks on this planet that are over 8,000 kilometers high. And every one of those mountains has one rule for every human being. And that rule states that it doesn't matter if you're black, it doesn't matter if you're white, rich, poor, weak or strong. The rule is this: if you quit, you die. That simple. And so when you make one of these decisions, the key is to persevere through and see it through to the end. But if you quit on yourself, then it'll be a failed experiment, right? Because you quit in the middle of it. So you can't quit in the middle of it. You got to see it through. And I promise you, on the other side is your best life. With that, I'll pass the mic.
Yes, I love that. And so here are some that I have for you, like Dr. Charlie says. First thing I'd love you to do is to contrast and compare. Build the pros and cons to staying the same versus leaping out. And if leaping out is way too scary for you, then I guess it's you hang out where you are. But I really think according to, adding on to what Dr. Charlie said about trusting yourself. I love this one wisdom that said the bird on the branch doesn't worry about the branch breaking because he doesn't trust the branch. She doesn't trust the branch. She trusts her wings. Right? So if you are able to bet on yourself, and I have a PDF that I created, a small little book that said it's 8 reasons to bet on yourself. And if you don't have these 8 characteristics, don't bet on yourself, i.e., work ethic, i.e., passion, i.e., networking skills. You're not social and like people because you're going to need people. If you're not willing to learn and grow, and so on and so on and so on. If those aren't in your, and by the way, all these skills that I just mentioned are easy to do. There's choices. They're not, you're born with them. They're things you develop. But if you're not willing to do them, don't bet on yourself because you need those things. But if you can do those things, bet on yourself. If you're willing to allow yourself to do that, bet on yourself. And Dr. Charles said, expect turbulence. We've all seen the memes online of the line to a to a goal. It's never straight. It's wiggly and ups and downs and fall and retreats and forward and fall backward. But as the book says, you got to fail forward, learn and grow, learn and grow. Navy SEALs. I can go tons of examples. Navy SEALs say, fall 7, get up 8. Same thing over and over. And so I would also finish with this: price and promise. What's the promise? Dr. Charlie, at the end of that, what he just said, he said, I promise you. I promise you. See, what's the promise? The promise is freedom. The promise is passion. The promise is uh, jumping out of bed every morning. The promise is you forget about hump day. You forget about Friday, Monday. That's a promise. Now, with that promise, are you willing to pay the price? Because price and promise, they kind of go together, right? Are you willing to pay the price of somebody putting you up for 30 minutes on a whole vitriol being shown at you on video with is following, saying they wish you would die just for doing what you love? Are you willing to do that? That's a price. Because the promise is my friend gets to live a free life. He gets to live out his passion. He gets to get up every day and build his own schedule and see new experiences, and he's doing that. So he's willing to pay the price. So that's something that you have to decide. What's the price? What's the promise? And if you can do all of those things, contrast, compare where you are now, where you want to be. If you have the skills to bet on yourself, and by the way, you can go on my LinkedIn or wherever and pick up that book, that PDF, and expect it's not going to be smooth. But what is the price I'm willing to pay versus the promise that I get at the end? So, with that, Dr. Charlie, great episode. Anything else to add before we jump off on this one?
Yeah, I think my word for the week is going to be perseverance. And, that's a word that each and every one of us needs to use each and every week, because it takes perseverance to succeed in this life.
Mm-hmm. 2 words I'm thinking of while you're saying that is take inventory. Take inventory. Stop every so often. Take inventory of where you are now. Take inventory of how you feel. Take inventory of what you're doing. Take inventory of your skills and passion that you have. Are they being utilized where you are? Or do you daydream that you could be somewhere else doing something else? Take inventory. Journal. And if that doesn't match up, it's time. Sunk costs. Let go of the pot committed mentality, the sunk cost mentality, and just let it go. It's time. Same in relationship, anything you do. So, with that, everybody, Dr. Charlie, thank you. We hope, remember, one idea, well executed, can change your life forever. So, let's do it. Your life, your business, your passion, your relationship, everything. One idea. That's all you needed from this. Hope you got it. Like, subscribe, share. Let's build this community. And with that, we wish you peace in your life. We're going to send you a whole lot of love. We need it today. And with a little sprinkle of what?
So,
Oh, baby, that's what we do. All right. Until next time, my people, we appreciate you all. And we'll have a great week, and we'll see you on the next podcast.